Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Tonight we begin with a ruling in a local terrorism case. Dalson Chen was in the courtroom and brings us our top story.
A Windsor man who tried to join a neo-Nazi organization has been found guilty of a terrorism charge. Seth Bertrand, 22, has been convicted of participating in or contributing to the activity of a terrorist group. The verdict was delivered by Justice Maria Caracia at Windsor Superior Court on August 7th. The court heard that in 2021, Bertrand filled out an online application for the Atomwaffen Division, also known as the National Socialist Order. The far-right hate group advocates armed violence to establish white nationalism. The Canadian government considers the Atomwaffen Division to be a terrorist entity. In his application, Bertrand promised his loyalty to the group, offered his experience as a mechanic and a military cadet, and wrote that he considers gay and Jewish people to be the enemy. Federal prosecutor Xenia Proestos feels the verdict is appropriate, even though Bertrand didn't carry out any missions for the group.
The criminal code specifically provides that it's not necessary that the activity actually be carried out. These groups use online forums to recruit and advance the activities of the group. Unfortunately, it's not the first time somebody's been convicted of this offense under the criminal code.
Bertrand bragged online about his real-world crimes in 2021, which included smashing a window and drawing swastikas at a trans support group and harassing an LGBTQ+ couple. Those acts led to Bertrand pleading guilty in 2022 to mischief and inciting hatred. The court heard that Bertrand told an undercover RCMP officer about his attempts to join what he termed domestic terrorism and his desire to arm himself. Bertrand's lawyer, Bobby Russin, says his client is a different person in 2025.
I know as counsel, and Mr. Bertrand knows as a person, that he committed a moral wrong. It really was an academic question. He's accepted what he's done. He's accepted responsibility for what he's done. Hating people based solely on race, sex, gender, creed, religion, or anything like that is obviously deplorable and has no place in the society. That's not always how Mr. Bertrand felt, but I do believe it is how he feels now.
Bertrand's terrorism charge has no minimum penalty, but carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. The sentence hearing is set for October 6th. Until then, Bertrand remains out of custody. Dalson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
The trade war with the United States has taken a toll on the local economy and on people's wallets, which means some programs are hurting when it comes to donations. Pratyush Thayal spoke with one organization about what's at stake.
The Windsor Youth Centre is sounding the alarm, saying a funding crisis is threatening its services. They say $200,000 is needed before the end of the year to continue operating in 2026 and beyond. It is the region's only dedicated drop-in space for youth aged 16 to 25 who are or at the risk of homelessness. The centre, which is a program under the Downtown Mission, says the increased demand has meant they are running at a deficit.
So please help us, Windsor Essex. We need your help to keep this program going.
That is the pitch from the centre, which says donations have been low for the past 6 months. It is asking community leaders or businesses to step forward with financial support.
Going forward from there, we'd love, of course, our community to keep supporting as they are able to. But we will be reaching out to, and we already have been reaching out to different levels of government, reaching out to different community partners to see, how can we work better together.
This is where the youth will primarily hang out.
The focus at the centre is not just a safe place to rest and a meal. The Director of Youth Services and Administration says it's also about engaging youth with art and learning life skills.
Our youth come here as a starting point to escape survival mode and become capable, competent adults in the future. We are currently at over 15,000 visits just for 2025 alone between the various programs that we offer within the Windsor Youth Centre program. This is a home for many of our youth who have nowhere else to call home.
This man remembers walking through the centre's doors as an 18-year-old more than a decade ago.
And then the real question hit, should I go back to school? So I asked, is there a way that you can help me go to school and attend my meetings? So they put all their other stuff aside and said, yeah, we can make a meeting, and I'll go with you and support you and see if we can get you back enrolled in school.
The center says if funding falls through, many at-risk youth will be again put in harm's way. Pratish Dayal, CBC News, Windsor.
Colette Kennedy joins us now for our first look at weather. Colette, another beautiful day today.
Yeah, it is a beauty out there. 27 degrees currently. Now you can add a value of 5 to get to the feels like temperature because our humidex is at 32. A little bit of energy stateside, and something was trying to bubble up here to the east of Windsor, but it's really just not happening. So we're talking about staying with some dry conditions in here, although there was that slim chance. So this evening, that temperature coming down a few more degrees in the next few hours, down to 25. Overnight tonight, fairly light winds, 20 for the low, just a few clouds. And tomorrow morning, your sunrise just after 6:30. With that sunshine carrying on into the afternoon, things will be changing. A little bit warmer, 30 degrees with that southerly flow kicking in. Feeling like close to 37. More heat to come. I'll have the details a little later in the show.
All right. Thanks so much, Colette. Up next, U.S. President Donald Trump's latest tariffs have taken effect around the globe, and they target more than 60 countries, with repercussions rippling far beyond. Trump has promised the new import taxes will bring the U.S. billions of dollars in revenue, but many economists say any windfall comes at a steep cost. CBC's Peter Armstrong has more on the immediate impacts of the tariffs.
It's been nearly 100 years since U.S. tariffs were this high. Imports from dozens of countries were slapped with new tariffs as of midnight last night. The Yale Budget Lab says Americans will pay an average of 18% more for imported products as a result. And there's more to come. We're still waiting to hear how the Trump administration will deal with pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. When that midnight deadline swooshed past, Donald Trump posted to social media saying, quote, "It's midnight, billions of dollars in tariffs are now flowing into the United States of America." His Commerce Secretary was asked just how much money will come into American coffers as a result of these tariffs.
Last month, it averaged just over $30 billion. And as of last night, midnight, the tariffs went up. I think we're going to be heading towards $50 billion a month in tariff revenue.
Now, what Howard Lutnick leaves out there is that it's Americans that are paying those tariffs. Sure, some companies have been able to negotiate better prices and convince foreign suppliers to cut their costs because of these tariffs, but that's not at all universal. And we've seen plenty of evidence of that. GM says its profits in the first 3 months of the year cost that company $1.1 billion. Ford posted its first quarterly loss in years because of the tariffs. Apple says all told it expects tariffs will cost that company somewhere close to $2 billion through the first half of the year. But in a lot of ways, the uncertainty caused by the tariffs and the trade policy in general is an even bigger problem. Job growth has slowed sharply in the face of so much uncertainty. GDP growth shrank in the first quarter and has grown at a mere 1.2% through the first half of 2025. And that was all before the latest tariffs kicked in. So brace for yet more volatility and more uncertainty in the days and weeks ahead. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Washington.
In national news, the Canadian military is facing a resurgence in reports of hateful and racist conduct within the ranks. New data obtained by CBC News from the Department of National Defense shows after a couple of years of decline, the number of reported incidents spiked last year. Ashley Burke has the details.
Guns, explosives, ammunition. One of the largest troves of weapons ever seized in a terrorism investigation on Canadian soil. 4 people with ties to the military charged last month for an alleged plot to take over Quebec land.
This is extremism, ideologically motivated violent extremism, and in fact it is a threat to national security.
For years, the military's documented hateful conduct in the ranks. This record obtained by CBC News shows examples from the past, including a military member accused of neo-Nazi ideology who likes Hitler and hates all immigrants. Another person was allegedly part of a white supremacist group, and police found a Nazi flag at a residence of another CAF member.
I think that
this professor interviewed former extremist Canadian military members and says what one told him is explosive.
He said he went into the military to learn how to kill brown and black people. And that was, to me, very disturbing.
New data from the Defense Department shows the military reported 330 incidents of hateful conduct over 4 years. The majority of it, claims of uttering threats, intimidation, and hate propaganda. In 2020, the military put in place new policies to crack down. The numbers dropped year after year until 2024, when it spiked again.
There's a link between that rise and the election of Donald Trump.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
Trump's anti-immigration and anti-DEI rhetoric is a narrative experts believe unleash more extremism in Canada in 2024.
The military continues to be predominantly white and predominantly male. It's especially, I think, vulnerable to those sorts of narratives that are trying to explain or trying to convince them somehow that white men have been left behind.
The Army's commander says hateful conduct must be rooted out.
Something I probably shouldn't say on CBC, but pisses me off, is that the important work that the Canadian Army needs to do to modernize, our eye is being taken off that, our focus is being taken off that, so we can deal with completely unacceptable and inappropriate behavior. That needs to be done.
The data shows the military is dealing with the majority of these cases in-house, and so far only 21 incidents have led to military members being kicked out. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Back to local news now. For those who have tragically lost loved ones because of an impaired driver, there's now a place to go along the riverfront, to pay tribute to their memory. CBC was there for the unveiling of the new memorial.
My name is Tanya Hansen-Pratt. I'm the national president of MAD Canada. My mom was taken from me and my 2 brothers too soon and forever because someone made a horrible, irreversible decision. By creating memorial gardens like this one, we ensure that the victims are never forgotten and that their stories continue to inspire change. Every hour in Canada, an average of 9 federal criminal charges and provincial short-term license suspensions are laid for alcohol or drug-impaired driving. It's an amazing location here in Windsor for victims and survivors of impaired driving to come and find some peace in a location that's also public. It serves as a message to the general public that there is action to be taken against impaired driving.
We're honored. It's an amazing feeling, to bring something back to the city of Windsor that's in more of a physical capacity. We do a lot of awareness. We have road signs, we have education programs, we do so much, but to have something physical like a memorial garden seating area, I think it's important. One, just, for the victims. Our number one priority are victims. It's not fully done yet, but I'm saying by next year, once the trees mature, once the grass matures, we'll add some flowers, and then there'll be hopefully a phase 2 after this. We just have a big drug issue here in Windsor, unfortunately. And, when you have addictions, when you deal with drugs and alcohol, you tend to make irresponsible decisions, and that's by driving impaired. We're at the foot of Dieppe, Riverside Drive, the waterfront, and the nicest place in Windsor. There's a lot of traffic. We have people from all across the world that come and visit Windsor. So this is a reminder to not just us, but to everyone. It's never okay to drive impaired, and it's another reminder that we should never, ever get behind the wheel under the influence of drugs and or alcohol.
We are going to take a quick break, but first we want to share a photo from one of our viewers. Check this out. Catherine Netherton snapped a photo of this butterfly from her patio, and after some research, found it to be a giant swallowtail, which happens to be the largest butterfly in North America. Windsor Essex is lucky to be a region where this lovely butterfly can be found. So thank you very much, Catherine, for sending this in and sharing it with us. And if you have a photo that you would like to share with us, it is very easy to do. You can email us anytime at windsor@cbc.ca. Let's take a live look outside there. Another gorgeous day, and it's looking like it will be a gorgeous weekend as well, but we have to keep an eye on those temperatures. Looks like things are going to be heating up as well in the days ahead. And of course, Paula Kennedy will break all that down for us later on in the program. But first, when we come back, we will bring you the very latest in international news, including what is happening in Gaza. The latest is coming up right after the break. Welcome back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel intends to take military control of all of Gaza. In a U.S. media interview, Netanyahu said the plan would assure Israel's security, remove Hamas, and liberate the population.
We don't want to keep it. We want to have a security perimeter. We don't want to govern it. We don't want to be there as a governing body. We want to hand it over to Arab forces that will govern it properly without threatening us and giving Gazans a good life. That's not possible with Hamas.
The Israeli leader is meeting with the security cabinet to discuss the takeover plan. Military chiefs have pushed back against expanding the campaign. Criticism is intensifying in Israel and abroad over the devastating war in the territory. Israel's military says it controls about 75% of Gaza. Most of its population has been displaced during the 22-month-long war. Health officials say at least 60,000 people have been killed, and aid groups are warning of a famine. The Kremlin says Vladimir Putin will meet Donald Trump as soon as next week. The U.S. president has been seeking a breakthrough to end Russia's war against Ukraine. It comes on the heels of talks in Moscow between the Russian leader and a U.S. envoy. Crystal Gaman Singh has the latest from London.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says both the U.S. and Russia showed interest in this meeting. The summit is expected to be held within a matter of days, with the location agreed to, but details still being finalized, according to Kremlin policy advisor Yuri Ushakov. The last time the leaders of the U.S. and Russia met was before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Former U.S. President Joe Biden met with Putin in June 2021. U.S. President Donald Trump said Wednesday it was also possible there would be a trilateral meeting between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. Putin, however, told reporters he has nothing against it, but before that, certain conditions should be created, and unfortunately, we are still far from creating such conditions. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spent part of his day speaking with European leaders in France and Germany. Posting on social media, he said that they agreed the war must end as soon as possible, and again stated that as Ukraine is a part of Europe, European leaders must be part of the peace process as it impacts security across the continent. Russia, meanwhile, has been making gains on the front lines. In July, it seized roughly 600 square kilometers, the biggest land grab of the year. And earlier this month, Russian forces claimed to have taken Chasiv Yar, a town in the Bakhmut region in eastern Ukraine. In Kyiv, Ukrainians are tired of the war, but also skeptical. There is a deep mistrust of Putin. People in the capital said regardless of what is said in any meeting, they doubt the Russian leader would end the war anytime soon. Even the U.S. president has been frustrated with Putin in the past and his words not matching his actions. If you recall, it was just last month when Trump said, quote, "We get a lot of BS thrown at us by Putin. He is very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless." Crystal Gamansing, CBC News, London.
Emergency officials say a massive wildfire in the south of France is burning at a slower rate, but it's still considered out of control. One woman has died and 11 firefighters have been injured, according to local authorities. The fire started on Tuesday and is the largest the country has seen in 75 years, and it has already burned through an area larger than Paris. The wildfire has destroyed dozens of homes and forced hundreds of people to flee. A fire official told local media he's hopeful crews can contain the fire before Friday. And we're going to take a quick break, but before we do, take a look at this. This is the Empire Sandy. The tall ship could be seen on the Detroit River today. At 200 feet in length, the Empire Sandy is Canada's largest sailing tall ship. The vessel is here to take part in an event called Sail Detroit. 4 tall ships in total are expected to take part. The event starts tomorrow and runs until August 10th. Stay with us, Colin Kennedy will be back with us after the break. Colette Kennedy is back with us now for more on weather. And Colette, it's looking really nice in the days ahead. It's going to be heating up actually, which really just tells us we're still in the thick of summer.
Yeah, we're not through this yet. I mean, we're only approaching mid-August, right? So still plenty of heat to come. And sometimes you're kind of asking yourself, this happens to me this week with it being a shorter week, like, where are we? What day is it? Where are we in the season? It's kind of like when you're at the mall and you're looking for that directory, especially if it's a mall, maybe in a bigger city that you're not familiar with. So let's go to our seasonal directory and figure out where we are. We know we had a spring that was, well, I don't know if it's a fool spring, but it kind of tricked us a little bit. It was a little on the cool side, wet side as well. So we had that deception. Then spring got here and all the pollination, and June came on strong. We certainly had a lot of heat in July. Well, we are here. You are here. Summer is still simmering, okay, as we're moving towards fall. But we are far from there, and sizzling it will be as we move into the weekend, and the temperatures are going to be increasing and the humidity once again. So currently we're at a seasonal high of 27, although today we did get up to 28, so just a little bit above earlier this afternoon in terms of those seasonal daily maximums. You put a few degrees on there in terms of what it feels like. It feels like we're in the low 30s, although we don't give the humidex actually in temperature. So just that feels like, right? A little energy just bubbling up to the north of us, dry everywhere else, and trough trying to provide some lift here, but not much moisture to work with. And as we move forward in time, it's going to be similar. Now, it looks like there's going to be a lot of activity kind of coming at us as we get into tomorrow afternoon. You see all this moisture here across Michigan, but this is going to start to peter out as we move through the day Friday. Some of it may be holding together towards Grand Bend or up towards Kincardine, essentially Goderich, getting into parts of cottage country there, but further towards southwestern Ontario, we likely dry out. So really, I'm just keeping us dry, putting some sunshine back in there once again. What can we do when we're looking for rain and it's not necessarily coming? Your overnight temperatures tonight, those riding seasonal, are in fact a little bit above. And look where we're going as we move into the weekend. And what's really important here is not just these warm temperatures during the day, these low 30s, that the overnight readings are also in the low 20s, so not a lot of relief then. And keeping in mind by Sunday, that humidex value, Katerina, is going to be around 40. So that's going to be changing.
Oh boy. All right. Thanks so much, Colette. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.